I'm Mark Small, Civil Discourse Now for October 26, 2022. Last evening on John Schmitz's podcast, Mouthwash, my bit Small Talk was on, and Lucy Brenton, who was the lieutenant governor candidate for the Libertarian Party, I believe in 2020, and who is vice chair, I'm very fond of vices, for the Libertarian Party in Indiana now, said, after I had said that individual ownership of firearms didn't win the Revolutionary War, she said, well, I can say this on a podcast, that's bullshit. No, it's not bullshit, Lucy. Let's distinguish between what firearms were used for in the Revolution and what individual ownership means. In the Revolutionary War, they were used in groups, like in militias. Actually, Washington did not like his militias. He really preferred regular army people being trained. So they weren't individual owned muskets that people would grab and use. If they were members of a militia, they're expected to have a firearm like that. That's different from individual ownership of firearms. It's completely different because it's under control. It's for a purpose and not just so you can blow somebody's ass away if you don't like what they're doing. Now, that being said, she also added, it wasn't some kumbaya moment. No, I'm so tired of people saying, well, if you're a liberal and you're against violence overall, what is it, some kumbaya thing? No. The lines of supply that the British had were overextended. We were all the way a couple of thousand miles away. So it was difficult for them to manage a colonial war. The factors that most scholars look to in why the white European settlers won the Revolutionary War are the alliance with France. That was big. No, it wasn't that individuals grabbed a bunch of firearms off of the ships that the French sailed over on. We got cannon from them. We got massive amounts of gunpowder and shot. They used their navy. That's not a kumbaya moment, but it's sure as hell not an individual ownership of firearms. Another factor is the British debt. They couldn't afford this anymore. They'd had too many wars over here, including the French and Indian War, and they really couldn't afford to go into debt anymore in this hemisphere. They also had to face our familiarity, meaning the white European settlers who had kind of acclimated here, to the terrain. And then settlers here began to develop their own weapons. Now, again, if you look at that in the context of an individual right to keep and bear arms, it's not. It's talking about group ownership and group efforts. And that's different from what we have today. What we have today is a fascination with guns that doesn't make us more free. I used the example on my segment on John's show to say, are we more free today with kids having to hide under school desks than we were in 1962 when we only had to hide under school desks to learn a drill for a possible nuclear war? That was the Cuban Missile Crisis. Since Columbine, kids have to do that all the time. They're facing that stress every day. That's bullshit. So I would point out then in closing that Lucy had better read her history, number one. Number two, I'm a candidate for Indiana House of Representatives, District 86. I'm the Republican nominee. If I were elected, I'd want to have the state sponsor peer-reviewed studies at state universities on the effects of gun violence as a health issue. Federal government isn't allowed to because the NRA pays them so much money. Hell, the NRA pays 5 times the amount to Todd Young as he makes as a U.S. Senator. What do they get for that? I wonder. But that's some of the stuff that I would propose. I also think we need to limit ownership of firearms. And like I said the other night, if you don't own a firearm and you need to ask yourself if you should, you already answered the question. It's no. I'm Mark Small, nominee for the 86th Legislative District. I approve of this message. Hell, I made it. Peace.